Greetings to you, Crocoduck Army! In the past couple years, we've heard a lot about the influence of working-class white people. While it's a phrase that sounds like it could have much broader meaning, when most people hear it, they think of people who hold manufacturing jobs, especially in small towns in the Midwest. These are people who, we're told, propelled Trump to victory, and given the three critical states that made the difference, Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania, it's fair to say they exerted some influence. We've heard it said for years that manufacturing is dying, and in some ways the people saying it are right. Since 1980, we've gone from 18.9 million down to 12.2 million manufacturing jobs. Over a third of the sector's jobs are gone, but despite that, our industrial output is up over 2.5 times what it was in 1980. People continue to be replaced by machines, which is a trend that will continue and in fact should continue. Foreign labor has made the goods we buy much cheaper and resulted in less pollution here. Also, think of the jobs that replaced those manufacturing jobs. There are tens of millions of jobs in the tech industry that didn't exist back then. The pay for those jobs is a lot more on average, but they also take a lot higher level of education on average. It has shifted the supply and demand equation. People with skills for those higher paying jobs have done very well. Those with fewer skills have seen their job prospects drop and their wages stagnate, if they've been able to keep their jobs at all. This has certainly contributed to income inequality. These company towns, as they were often called, towns and small cities that depended on a few big factories to keep things afloat, have collapsed as their industrial base left. The people who were left without work, often without a college education, ended up unemployed or underemployed. High-tech companies don't tend to set up in these towns because they don't have the skilled labor force that they need, so unemployment increases. Growing up in upstate New York, I saw this firsthand. When these economic forces occur, it stokes a lot of resentment. To many people living in these places, it's the company's fault because the greedy company wanted to make more money. Or maybe it's the fault of workers in other countries who will work for less. Or maybe it's the fault of immigrants who came here and are willing to be paid less because their standard of living is still better than it was in the country they came from. A sentiment which can easily slide into prejudice and calls to build border walls. It's much easier to do this than it is to understand the economic forces that are as inevitable as the sun rising and setting. Trump was good at tapping into that anger, and promised those people the moon. Those who are not well educated but hard-working certainly deserve to have jobs. On that, Trump and I agree. However, I think if their skills are limited, they'll have to retrain for something different, and I believe we should assist them in this. Trump, on the other hand, is telling them that he'll simply bring those jobs back somehow. And that is as big a lie as telling them that the sun will never set again. They believed it though, and people in small towns and rural areas voted for him in droves, more than ever before, further deepening the ideological divide between urban and rural communities. It's true that Democrats should learn to speak to rural and small-town Americans more effectively, but we can't decide that we'll just start lying more convincingly than Trump. We need to be in favor of all economic progress and help people adapt when needed. I'm in favor of a robust minimum wage, and it's been shown to work well in places like Seattle and elsewhere, even where it's localized. If companies want to install ordering machines to save a few bucks on labor at McDonald's, that's fine. Someone has to make the parts for those machines, program the software, provide the communications platform, and fix them when they break. This is not a bad thing. The answer is not curling into our own shells and whining about how America's not as great as it used to be just because certain skill sets are no longer in demand. The answer is educating your way to better prospects. If you agree with me, feel free to tweet this video to Trump. I hear that he really appreciates constructive criticism.
Great ties. The ties are made in where? China? China. Ties are made in China.